And I just ask you again, Matt, if you can share from your experience, and your insights, I suppose, on how best to execute deal registration in today's complex channel ecosystem. Ultimately, how does that enable you to scale and provide the end customer insights, or indeed deal with those end customer data challenges? So yeah, bit to unpack there, Matt, but have a go, please.
No pressure then. Thanks, Kenneth. Yeah, it's a really good question. And there have been a couple of companies I've worked at in the past where I've been building their channel programs from scratch, and deal registration is always that first step. In terms of how to execute it successfully, and then ensure that it scales, there's quite a few elements that you need to really think about and sort of prioritize. I'd say firstly, focus on the partner experience. You've got to make sure that you provide partners with an easy way to engage with your program, and the easiest way to do that is using a platform, obviously, to register the deals that they're obviously bringing to you, but also then maintaining the updates back to them to keep them informed, to keep that visibility flow going through the platform as well. So deploying a platform approach will definitely enable the scalability of a deal reg program. But like I said earlier, because that's usually the starting point of that partner engagement, it's really critical to provide that user experience, that positive experience from the start, to ensure that repeat business. And again, that goes back to what Ken was talking about earlier in terms of building that loyalty as well. So yeah, that's the first thing. The program itself, obviously, second factor. Keep it simple. Keep it as simple as possible. Don't ask too many questions. Kenneth, I think you mentioned earlier, anyone who asks, long, complex questions, it's not going to work. You've got to keep this snappy as well, right? So make sure that it's a nice, straightforward. If you're using forms, for example, a form-based program, minimize the number of questions that the partner needs to answer to register the deal. Bear in mind that you're one of multiple vendors they're going to work with, right? So the quicker you can and easier you can make it to engage with your deal reg, the better. So really take the time to think through the key pieces of information that you need to really get a qualified and validated opportunity from that deal registration. So, things to sort of avoid are long text boxes where the partner can just input whatever they like, because you can't measure on those metrics at a later date, but also the partner might put in something that they think you want to know or hear, but actually it's not, right? So it might be useless data in that validation process. So always use drop downs, yes, no questions with tick boxes as well, right? That way it's clear, it's concise, it's quick, it's easy, and it will help build those sort of metrics that you can use for reporting at a later date. I'd say the third factor to think about would be look at the workflow, and in particular workflow automation and communication. So think about what happens once the deal has been submitted. And really, once it's been submitted, it should automatically be routed for approval, not only to the correct CAM, but follow a different process. Maybe you've got an ops team where that has to flow through as well. So think about the various stages of the workflow, and then think about the stages after that. So what are the actual options there? So approved, rejected, do they need to add more information, and so on. So really, once the deal registration is approved, it should automatically create an opportunity in your CRM. So there always should be a link between your platform and your CRM. And again, that saves your internal teams a lot of time and effort. It ensures that there's clear flow and updates between the systems, so your partners get visibility back. And there should always be automated notifications sent to not only the partner user, but also the relevant vendor users internally. So everyone has the same level of communication. So everyone knows exactly what stage that opportunity is at any one time. So yeah, I'd say they're my three sort of key flows that I would go to. I would also just reiterate, just bear in mind that partners, they work with lots of different vendors, and often it'll be the competition as well, right? So if you can produce something and put something in front of them which makes doing business with you really, really easy, really straightforward, their mind share is naturally going to go to you, because you're creating something that can really give you a competitive advantage over what your competition or what other vendors are doing as well.
Yeah, no, that's great, Matt. A lot of key points in there, and I think the last one has come up already around the ease of doing business. It always does. As you said, partners have choices. They can work with multiple vendors, often the competition. So again, the easier you are to work with, the better chance you have of winning that partner's in customer business. Speaking of in customers, just to add a little bit to what you said there, Matt, I think one of the areas that the automation ultimately helps and enables you to scale is managing the end customers. We start on somebody starting their channel versus somebody at Riley's scale of zillions of deal registrations and millions of end customers, etc. So you can imagine going from that starting point to where somebody like Riley is at right now. It's huge. But if you don't start early and manage that end customer data, and again, stay away from free text. We do things with Broadcom, for example, where we API into the end customer database. So when a partner goes to register a deal, they're picking from a correct end customer. They can't go and surf. They have to be an incumbent, or they have to create a new end customer. But that is all completely process automated from end to end. So it prevents that meltdown later where somebody's got a job to fix up a mess of end customer data that ultimately ends up on your CRM system. So yeah, that's kind of really important, and where that in customer data is also important. Ken touched on it at the very start, is around the partner sourced business. So we give partners leads. That's vendor-led business, which we want them to take because we may not operate in that country, or they may be better at it. But also where they bring net new logos, we want to recognize them and pay them extra to do that. Everybody wants net new logos, right? So again, that's where your in customer data management is really important. Otherwise, how can you recognize it's a net new logo, and how can you pay them on that, or worse still, pay them incorrectly on that? So yeah, I don't know, Ken or Riley, anything you want to kind of add to what Matt has said?
Yeah, I was just gonna add one of the things Matt mentioned on the workflow. It got me kind of thinking a little bit. What takes the longest as far as time when that deal is coming through? To me, it's always going to be the review of that deal. Like, who did it get routed to, and how quickly can they review that deal and action that deal? We're not there yet, but something that may be helpful to those on the line would be, like, how do you really take your scale to the next level? And to me, it's coming up with ways to be able to automate the review process and have certain deals that are coming through. When it comes to that approval or rejection or sending back, being able to have a simple enough process and program where you can build rules that says, hey, like, no one even needs to look at this deal. We approve this deal, right? That would really take your deal registration program to the next level. And it's something that we're looking to do in the future at Broadcom as well. But yeah, just food for thought for those who may be looking at that or may be further advanced in their deal registration program today.
That's great, Riley. And I think sometimes that comes down to the product and the partner relationship ultimately as well. But yeah, sorry, Ken. Yep.
No, that's okay. Riley literally stole what I was going to say, just about the process of how quickly can we review that deal reg. One of the things that we've realized as we're measuring everything is that our deal registrations are our largest, or our highest percentage closing deals, so even higher than our inbound leads that we were getting previously. And so one of the reasons for that is we qualify every one of those opportunities, and the quicker we can get to them, the quicker we can get that partner on the line and find out any details that are missing, leads us to a more qualified opportunity, get the demo done and go and close that opportunity. So I feel like, and Matt was talking about the workflow and automating it, the more that you can do that. And Riley, to your point, we've got a dedicated team that just does deal regs, and they do know, if they see the same partner registering opportunity, it's not quite a check mark, but it'd be great if we could get to the point where it just automatically flows into the system. Today, there's still manual intervention, but we're moving those through quicker and quicker as we get better at doing this.